name is Isabella Greene. Welcome to my channel. This is going to be a compilation of 2 videos on the subject of sharing mystical experiences with a partner. This is the question that comes in the most probably, and of course all of us, the social species, we want to know how to share our experiences with someone that we care about, or how to just share our experiences with other people. It seems to be such a solitary space of vision, of out-of-body experiences, and a lot of people really want to share it with someone. And I am here to express to you what it is that I know and what it is that I have experienced. And so I would also bring you the stories that I actually recorded this summer. So you're going to have a whole different me there from this summer, where I'm sharing the stories of my own actual experiences. But before we go into experiences, here's what I presently know. I have a very strong belief that once we separate from the idea of our own physicality, and once we enter the space of our non-physical state, or the spirit state, we are able to fully merge with someone because they are of the same fabric, they are in the same space, they are the same fabric of reality as us. And so those of us who can travel out of body, who have practiced an out of body experience, so those of us who have strong ability for vision, that's a whole different subject, but those of us who have developed these abilities already are able to pull others with us. I am quite convinced, because I've done this with a number of people, and my stories will support that. I even did that when I had no idea how it works. And right now, the more I know, the more I am convinced that if you are someone who can practice or who can generate an out-of-body experience, if you really want to bring another soul with you and share that experience, it is quite possible. And there are different ways. My technique was really simple, and I will tell you about that in a moment. And I didn't really know what I was doing back, that was probably 2013-ish or something, when the stories took place, where I was experimenting with sharing the visual space and traversing dimensions with someone else. But you literally can do it with just about anyone who has that same ability. So it definitely is very beneficial that both people are able to have out-of-body experiences on their own, and then you set the intention to have that experience together, and you bring your physical forms together in a non-sexual way, although sexual energy fuels that. Sexual energy works as a rocket fuel for these experiences, which is much talked about nowadays, including there's a video on my own channel about that. But even with the person that you are able to soul connecting on the soul level, and for that you could do something like I did with my female friend, who is a very good dear sister to me, and we just decided to play with it and experiment, and we held hands and sat in cross-legged position, like for meditation, facing each other, and then we put our foreheads together. And I had a very strong idea or desire to pull, as I'm pulling myself out of my body, to bring her with me. Can I facilitate that kind of experience for another person? And we found out that I could. So here is that story for you right there. I remember that I was spending time with a very good friend of mine, very close female friend of mine, dear sister of mine, here in Sedona, and we were just sharing our otherworldly experiences, our visions, and I was just starting at that point to fly through dimensions and experience different realities, and we were talking about it so passionately, and we really had a very strong heart connection and also a great excitement about these subjects that we were sharing with each other. And at some point it just occurred to me, and I said, hey, let's check if I could pull you out with me, out of your body, into that kind of experience. Let's just see what happens. And so intuitively, she's got really excited about it. She said, well, let's check it out. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't. Let's find out. So we jumped into this with great excitement, and we already spent the entire few hours together talking, and so we were very, very connected, and we had a very strong friendship, a very strong heart-to-heart connection with each other to begin with. And so here we kind of started figuring out what do we do. So we figured that we would sit in front of each other, facing each other, hold hands, and just to generate the circulation of energy. And then I had an idea of bringing our foreheads together too. And so we brought our foreheads together. We were kind of in this formation because we were cross-legged, holding hands and holding our heads together. And I just did one of the breaths where I contracted the yoga locks, the lower chakras, contracted the muscles in the three lower centers, and just inhale to the top of my head. That usually gets me right into an altered state. But here I'm with another person, and we're holding our foreheads together, the third eye information. And I just did that, and I visualized that I invite her soul or her non-physical aspect to come out with me into that whatever experience. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing that I'm flying through space, through stars, as you move into that point, that white dot that opens up and pulls you into otherworldly reality. So, and I feel that I'm not alone. I feel that she's with me, but I can't quite see her there. And next shot is I'm on some sort of planet, and I got wings, and I'm a dragon. And that was the time when I was playing with expanding or experiencing the dragon dimension a lot. And so naturally, of course, I'm a dragon, and I can see myself very clearly, and I'm sitting on the side of a cliff, and then I turn around, as if I just landed on the side of that cliff, and I turn around and I see this vast valley in front of me, and it's just gorgeous. And then I realize that there's someone next to me, and I look, and there's a smaller dragon next to me, and we know each other, we recognize each other. And so I get all excited, and I say, oh, let's fly, let's go and explore. This is a beautiful terrain. And so I take off, and I see that dragon taking off, and I can see that dragon's coloration, and the wings are really leathery kind of, and there's that color, like she's a bit kind of like sand colored, and I can see my claws, just I can see, like if I look down, I see that I'm a dragon. So I'm flying, and that sense of flying is just incredible, and I see that she's right by my side. And I got so excited that I lost it for a moment there, because I wanted to know if she really was. And so I kind of pulled myself back into, and I'm looking at her, and her eyes are closed, and I started speaking. I said, whoa, wait a minute, so did you? And she said, go through that dot? I'm like, yeah. And she said, and then I saw you on the side of the cliff. Yes. And she said, you. And so she started describing exactly the same thing. She started describing the wings and the terrain and the flying. And so we got even more excited. And I said, let's do some more of this. And so we didn't really do anything else except just We were very tuned into each other. Our hearts were open to each other. We were holding hands, and we were facing each other in meditative pose, in a cross-legged pose, and holding third eyes together like that. And I would just do that breath, like I'm pulling myself out with the intention of pulling her out of her physical form as well. And next thing we know, we're flying through some dark space, and it's so dark, and just one occasional blip of light, and it's just completely dark. And I feel, oh my God, I lost her in this space. It's so dark, and there's no shape here, but I feel a very strong sense of flight. And then all of a sudden I realized that, oh, there she is, she found me. Like, I felt that she was calling me, she's like seeking me, looking for me there. But then all of a sudden, oh, she's there, but I cannot see, she doesn't have a shape, and it's also really dark. And so we come back after that part, and I asked her, I said, what was that like for you? And she said, oh my God, it was so dark. And she said, I found you because you had this green triangular shaped thing telescoping out of your forehead. There was a homing device, and I knew it was you, and I had to, I just followed that, and I went and I found you. And she said, I couldn't see you, but I knew it was you, and I only could see that symbol. And so I was like, draw that symbol for me. She drew the symbol for me, and now it's my logo on my card, and now I know that it's actually Lycerian device, or I don't know, the part of the Lycerian, well, literally device, some sort of Lycerian transportation device, which I was told way later, but here at that point I had no idea. But she said that I found you by that green light. Of course, I cannot see the green light on top of in the middle of my own forehead, but so we continued doing these experiments until I literally felt that I could do no more. And that told me, that was so exciting, that was my very first experience, that told me that perhaps a person can pull the other person with them into these visions or into these experiences. So that was a lot of fun, but that was at the time when I wasn't even aware of what I was doing. Now I know that we have the ability to share consciousness, and we can share vision with each other, because so many, especially if your friend or your partner are empathic, and if they have the ability for vision, it definitely helps when your friends that you want to share this with, or your loved ones, that they have the ability for vision already, or they have the ability to have out-of-body experiences. But here's the vision part. So it is also possible to share your own vision space by intention, so that it's a very interesting state of being. When you are in that vision state yourself, you somewhat have the intention, it's just very simple, you have the intention to bring the other person into that vision as well. I noticed in the past when I was playing with this, I observed that if I start describing, and it's challenging because you're not fully in the body, you're in the middle of having a vision, but if you are able, you can totally operate your physical vehicle and explain what you're seeing. That's what I do in sessions, by the way, all the time. So even if you manage to utter a few words just to give them a kickstarter, like an idea of what you're seeing, the person who is empathic would immediately tune right into that space, and then their presence or their ability to see what you're seeing is going to be the same, because what you're seeing and what you're sharing is not from inside your head, it's from a space of shared consciousness, a space of like various realms, of various dimensions. So you are tapping into that. You just tapping into consciousness, which is not local. And if you kickstart your friend or your partner in that way and just give them a couple of words, or if you start describing what it is that you experience, and they will pick it right up. With people who are not necessarily open yet, or not necessarily able to have these experiences on their own, you can practice with these people as well. I practiced with a number of people who were not really having these visions or experiences on their own, but when with my really strong intention to pull them into the vision space or to pull them out of body, when I came in and we did this kind of pose with holding hands and putting the foreheads together, or sometimes with a boyfriend, I would do something like we would put our physical bodies next to each other, facing each other, put the foreheads together. Standing up is and hold hands, but standing up is challenging because you might actually tip over because your physical form, it's challenging to be operating your physical body while you are not in it. So I recommend perhaps like putting down a few yoga mats and or something to support your knees, and stand on the knees, so if you're falling, you're not falling that that far as of standing up. I noticed that for me, standing up was very challenging, is to maintain my body in that position. So creating a space where you're very close, so you're utilizing that sexual energy that's between you, if that's your boyfriend or your partner or your girlfriend, but also allowing yourself to pull into the space of shared consciousness. First, one of the most important things here is to experience the opening of the heart, and you will, because especially if you are with someone that you care about deeply, then that position, that's a very close physical position, and it gets the body going, and it also, when you have the intention to open the heart and share the space of the soul, quite frankly, then you might be able to facilitate something for them as well. I have experienced visions with people who were my boyfriends in the past and who were not practiced in vision or out-of-body experiences. And I'm going to give you the recording of these stories in a moment. These people mostly, first of all, it shakes the bars of their cage. So they are, something happens there that their consciousness gets more open to having these experiences, shared experiences in the future. But they had some sort of visions or some sort of experience, a sensation, a glimpse of something, flying through stars, flying through space, the sensations and visions that they never had before through that experience. So again, we are in shared consciousness. We can influence each other. The consciousness is non-local. So if you are able to get yourself out of the physical form into the space of shared consciousness, which is, it's everywhere. It's not that you're going anywhere. You just need to take the filters down and it's there. So when you know how to do that yourself, you can, by intention, pull someone with you into that space. And for those who are intimately involved, that should be really, really easy theoretically. A lot of people are having these experiences nowadays. But I'm going to now let you hear the stories about experiences that I had with people who were not at all familiar with any of out-of-body travel or even vision. And so here's what they experienced. Sometimes it worked to the point that the man would only see glimpses of energy. Like one told me, oh, I'm seeing like colors. The other one told me, oh, I saw kind of as if flash photography was going on, but I did not see anything else. Others were able to actually see things the same way as in my first story, but these, for some reason, mostly went into human incarnations, into past lives. And so I was either seeing that person in their past lives or us together in our past lives that were shared. As an example, so we did this, and all of a sudden I'm in the middle of the forest, and it's a really dense, cold northern forest, a lot of like pine wood, and there's a man with long white beard, a long white hair, and he lives in the hut, and he has communication of some sort with a non-terrestrial consciousness, like he's receiving and downloading information and downloading it into this density, but he's not really involved with human reality. He's like a hermit in his own space, and I'm realizing that it's a very old, and so I got to experience everything about that incarnation. And when I came back, the man that I was sharing that with started saying that, yeah, I remember, I kind of, when you started describing it, I kind of remembered, but while I was in that experience with you, I was having sensations like, oh, it's cold, it's humid, I can smell the pine, I kind of have a vague visual of that hut in the forest. So he did not quite have the full download, but he still nonetheless had the download. So let's back that up a little bit, because in the first example here, my sister, she already was traversing dimensions. She already was having really intense experiences. She already was getting out of the body and exploring. So when we came together to do this, it worked in a way that we could both see the same thing and we could both experience the same thing. With the man that I tried to do that with going forward, none of them really went that far yet. None of them really had these experiences on their own before, but when I was there and I was doing the same thing, I would just like pull that breath through, visualize that I'm pulling his energy with me to take him out of the physical into a different experience. That was the first exploration of this kind of experience. And so obviously you could do this with just someone who is just a close friend. You can do this with someone that what the requirement here is to have that deep heart connection. So if you really do that deep heart connection, it will work for sure. If you don't, you can generate it by will. And there are different techniques of how to open the heart. I don't see this as being super complicated process. And so I wanted to allow you here to dip your toe in the pool of this idea that your mystical experiences can actually be shared because they are non-local. As you come out, as you drop the filters, as we expand with our abilities and we're more and more advanced as human beings, as what we're supposed to be, where our abilities are online, we are going to find out how much we can actually share in the field of mystical experiences. And haven't you ever had these experiences when you are in meditative space with someone or in a group, right? Sometimes really large group, and you're having a full-on vision, and then you sit down to discuss it, and how many people in that audience had the same exact vision? How did that happen, right? So if it could be facilitated in a group, in a workshop that way, it can definitely be facilitated one-on-one, or with a group of friends, or with the loved one that you are, I'm sure, longing to share that incredible state of being, that incredible experience with. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for following me. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll bring you all kinds of information on this channel. And if you'd like to have a personal session with me, you can reach me at isabellagreene.com. I love you. Take care now. Till next time. Namaste.